Brazil have never lost to this team in 28 years. 5 World Cups, the most feared jersey in football. And on Sunday night, a country of 5 million people just ended it. Not Argentina, not France, not Germany, Norway, and it wasn't even close at the end. Let's break down exactly how the 5-time champions just got humiliated in 11 minutes. Stay till the end, because the penalty miss you're about to see will make you sick to your stomach. Okay, quick context so you're not lost. Brazil, coached by Carlo Ancelotti. Yes, that Ancelotti, the guy who's won the Champions League more times than most countries have won a World Cup, walked into this round of 16 match as heavy favorites. Neymar wasn't even starting. He was on the bench, in what might be his literal last World Cup appearance ever. Think about that for a second. One of the greatest Brazilian players of his generation, reduced to a substitute, watching from the sideline as his final World Cup hangs in the balance. On the other side, Norway had Erling Haaland. Norway had Martin Ødegaard. But here's the thing everyone conveniently forgot going into this game. Norway had never, not once, won a World Cup knockout match before this tournament. This was supposed to be the wall they finally hit, the tournament where reality caught up to the hype. Brazil, the 5-time champions, against a team that had literally never proven it could win when the stakes were highest. Spoiler alert, Norway didn't hit a wall. They brought a wrecking ball. And by the time this game was over, one of the most storied football nations on the planet was packing their bags to go home, while a country most people couldn't even find on a map without help was celebrating the biggest night in their footballing history. This is the story of exactly how that happened, minute by minute, mistake by mistake, and why one single moment in the first half set the entire collapse in motion before most fans even realized what was happening. First half. Brazil get a golden chance, a penalty, right in the spot where World Cup dreams are usually made or broken. Bruno Guimarães steps up. This is the moment. This is Brazil seizing control of the entire match before it even really gets going. The stadium goes quiet. You can feel it through the screen. This is the kind of moment that decides whole tournaments. And then he stutters his run-up. Ørjan Nyland, Norway's goalkeeper, a guy most casual football fans couldn't have named before this tournament even started, reads the entire thing perfectly. He doesn't guess. He doesn't gamble. He reads it, and he saves it clean. Brazil's golden moment, the one chance to take total control of this game, is gone in about 2 seconds. Now, here's why this moment matters so much more than people realize in the moment. Football commentators love to talk about momentum like it's some mystical force, but this is a perfect example of exactly what they mean. Brazil had the chance to go 1-0 up against a team that had never beaten them, never even come close to beating them in nearly 3 decades. Instead, they walk away with nothing, and Norway's confidence, already sky-high from just being in this position, gets an enormous boost. Nyland's save doesn't just deny a goal, it flips the emotional weight of the entire match. Remember this moment, because we are going to come back to it later in this video, and when we do, it's going to make Brazil's collapse hurt even more. 1 missed penalty. That's the number to keep in your head. 1 missed penalty that, in hindsight, might be the single biggest turning point of Brazil's entire World Cup campaign. Everything that happens for the rest of this game, every late collapse, every desperate substitution, every stunned face on that Brazilian bench, traces back to this exact moment when the ball went the wrong way. For most of this game, if we're being completely honest, it was ugly. Not a lot of quality, not a lot of clear-cut chances. If you'd fallen asleep on your couch watching this game, you genuinely wouldn't have missed much for almost 80 minutes. But football has this cruel, almost sadistic habit of staying quiet right before it goes completely insane. And minute 79 is exactly when Norway decided enough was enough. Schellerup swings in a cross from the wing. And there's Erling Haaland, 6'4", built like he skips leg day, on purpose, rising above Brazilian defender Gabriel, like Gabriel isn't even standing there. Header. In. 1-0. Norway. Gary Neville actually went off on live television about this exact moment afterward. He said Gabriel should have been tight, should have blocked the run completely, and instead gave Haaland a straight foot race to the ball. You simply do not do that to the best striker on the planet right now. You do not give Erling Haaland a runway and a header. That's basically inviting disaster. Brazil now need 2 goals in 11 minutes against a Norwegian defense that has been rock solid for the entire tournament. Panic starts creeping into every single decision Brazil makes. And then, minute 90, Haaland picks the ball up just outside the box. No hesitation, no second guessing. Low, driven, bottom corner, 2-0. Game over, basically, before it's technically over. That's his 7th goal of this entire tournament. Let that number sink in for a second, because it means he's now tied with Lionel Messi and Kylian Mbappe for the Golden Boot at his first ever World Cup. A tournament debut, and he's already trading blows with 2 of the greatest players this sport has ever produced. This isn't just a good tournament for Haaland anymore. This is a legend being built in real time, right in front of us, and Brazil just became the latest chapter in that story. And here's where this match turns almost poetic. With the game already essentially decided, Neymar, coming off the bench for basically his only real moment of impact in this entire World Cup, steps up and scores a penalty in stoppage time. 1, 2. Too little. Way too late. If this really was his last World Cup appearance, and there's a real chance it was, this is how it ends. Not a hero moment. Not a fairy tale final chapter. A consolation goal in a game that was already lost, scored by a substitute who barely got off the bench. Now here's the part that makes this whole result even crazier. And honestly, this is the stat that's going to make Brazilian fans want to throw their remote at the television. Brazil had played Norway 4 times before this match, across their entire footballing history. 2 draws, 2 losses. Brazil had never, not once, ever beaten Norway. Not in nearly 3 decades of trying. The most famous of those 4 meetings was back at the 1998 World Cup, where Brazil lost 2-1 to Norway in the group stage. That result stunned the football world back then, too. The scoreline on Sunday? 2-1. The exact same scoreline, 28 years later. Football has an absolutely sick sense of humor sometimes, replaying the same nightmare for Brazil, almost scoreline for scoreline, decade after decade, like some kind of curse that nobody in the Brazilian Federation has managed to break. You could not write this as fiction. If you pitched this exact storyline to a screenwriter, they'd tell you it was too unrealistic, too neat, too perfectly cruel. And yet here we are, watching it happen in real time, on the biggest stage in world football, with millions of people watching Brazil relive their worst nightmare against the one team they simply cannot seem to beat. Let's flip the story for a second. Because this isn't just about Brazil collapsing. This is, without any exaggeration, Norway's greatest football achievement in the country's entire history. A nation of 5.4 million people. Their first World Cup appearance in 28 years. A team that had never won a single knockout game before this tournament even started. And now, they are in the quarterfinals, doing it behind a striker who has now scored in 14 straight international matches, racking up 27 goals across that run. Haaland isn't just having a good tournament anymore. He is single-handedly rewriting what people thought was possible for a footballing nation this size, and Norwegian fans are watching history happen in real time. For Brazil, though, this is nothing short of a full-blown crisis. Ancelotti was brought in as the manager who fixes everything, the guy with more Champions League titles than almost anyone alive. Instead, Brazil are out in the round of 16. Neymar's international career might genuinely be over, and Gabriel's marking of Haaland is about to get dissected by every single pundit on the planet for the next decade of highlight reels and documentaries, just like this one. This is now becoming a real pattern for Brazil at recent World Cups, and patterns like this are exactly what get managers fired and entire footballing philosophies questioned from the ground up. So here's the entire story in 3 moments. 1 missed penalty that flipped the momentum before halftime. 1 unmarked header that broke the deadlock when it mattered most. And 1 golden boot race that just got blown wide open by a 25-year-old at his very first World Cup. That's Brazil versus Norway, in full. Norway now face England in the quarterfinals. If Haaland does this again, we might genuinely be talking about the most unlikely World Cup run in modern football history. Drop a comment right now. Was this the biggest shock of the tournament so far, or have you seen bigger? And subscribe if you want the quarterfinal breakdown the second that final whistle blows.